Hi everybody, and welcome to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. In this video, we have a post from Relationship Advice with an update, one from Pro Revenge and one from Malicious Compliance. So if you want to go ahead and get started with the stories, just use the timestamps below the video. I'd also like to give a big shout out to all my supporters and the new members that have been coming in. It makes a huge difference and it really means a lot to me, so thank you very much. Now, let's get started with the first story. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice, and it's by user throwaway breakup. I, 29 female, am divorcing my husband, 30 male, because he has autism. How can I do it respectfully? So when I, 29 female, first met my husband, 30 male, I knew he had autism. We met at uni and it never seemed to be a problem. He was what you'd describe as quirky, but we fell in love and eventually got married. Over time, he developed some sensory issues, which meant that I had to do the majority of the housework. I didn't really mind because I pursued an MA while he went to school. However, his autism became more noticeable as time went on. At first, I couldn't have my girlfriends over without a week's notice, and then it was just off the table completely. I accepted that he doesn't like other people entering our space, so we had our hangouts at their places. Then, I had to start doing chores on his schedule so he could be mentally prepared for the noise of the vacuum. It's all small things, really. It hit me a few weeks ago, I want out. I finished my PhD and got a job offer in a different state. It's a great offer and I want to take it. I started looking at places, but so many were already out of the question because they wouldn't accommodate my husband's many rules. As I was searching for new places, I realized that I want to get a divorce. I want to move and be able to vacuum when I want to and have friends over when I want. I want to eat out without having to check that the restaurant doesn't play loud music, and I want to eventually meet someone who is capable of doing half of the housework. My decision has been made, but how do I tell my husband that I'm leaving? I want to do it respectfully, but at the same time, I feel like he deserves to know why. I think I am leaving him because he has autism, and I fear that that will break him and at the same time make me a horrible person. OP, I would say be honest. But the thing is, I don't think you're really divorcing him for the reason that he has autism. In your next to last paragraph at the end, you say that you want to eventually meet someone who is capable of doing half of the housework. And that sentence to me is key, because it doesn't have to do with him having autism, it has to do with him not contributing to the household. And yeah, you could argue that vacuuming is not something that he could do because of his sensory issues, fine, but he could do the dishes, or he could dust, or he could do laundry, hang the laundry if not wash it, but he could contribute and help with the household chores. That's what a partner would do. At this point, you're the one that's taking care of everything while studying and he just goes to work. That doesn't strike me as a fair balance in the relationship, even taking into consideration that he has autism. So if, like you say, your decision has been made and there is no way of changing your mind, then just be honest and tell him that the relationship is not working out for you anymore. What do you guys think in this situation? Let me know your opinion in the comments section or what you would say to OP, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they had to say about this. Pilea Prairie Myodes says, "Don't tell him you're leaving him because he's autistic. He's always been autistic and always will be, and you're not leaving him because he's autistic. Focus on the actual reasons, that his needs and boundaries aren't compatible with yours anymore, that your relationship isn't equitable and you're unhappy, that you are not okay being in a relationship where you do 100% of the housework, can never have anyone over, and have to plan everything around his schedule. It's harder when there's a valid underlying reason, but all these things would be true if he wasn't autistic." Nukawin says, "I have ASD, and I have relatives who both have ASD and autism, and I'm just gonna say this. I think your husband is pulling the disability card just to get out of chores and control you. Maybe I am being paranoid, but his rules seem too much to all be connected to sensory issues." Pixie on Acid says, "It won't make you a horrible person to leave him because of this. If I were you, I would be honest but gentle. Tell him something along the lines of, I am filing for divorce because this marriage is no longer working for me and I feel I am now at a different place in my life. If he asks for specifics, just say something like, I honestly can no longer handle walking on eggshells around you instead of being able to live my life as normal. I understand that you have needs and boundaries and I respect those. However, I can no longer live with them. Don't necessarily say it's due to the autism, but the things that are stemming from the autism. And if he's not getting therapy to help process or cope with these sensory issues, he needs to be. Edit to add, but honestly, you don't even need to tell him specifics at all, even if he asks. Just say the relationship is no longer working out and your decision is final. Well, I think the community has given OP some pretty good advice on how to handle this whole situation and go about telling her husband that she wants out with a divorce. Now, what do you guys think about what the second commenter said, that OP's husband may be using his disability to get out of contributing to household work and controlling OP? Let me know about that in the comment section. And now we have an update from OP to know what happened in that conversation, so let's continue with that. It's been 3 days since I posted about wanting to leave my husband because his autism has made it impossible for me to live a normal life. Some of you suggested that he may be using his autism to get out of doing housework, and I'm afraid you were not wrong. I sat him down yesterday and told him that the situation has got to a point where I am no longer happy and I haven't been for a while. I don't love him anymore and there is zero attraction. I do still care for him though, and I told him I was happy to keep paying my share of the rent, we split everything 50-50, for 3 more months after I have moved so that he has enough time to find a place that suits his needs. He did not take it well at all. First, he begged me to reconsider, but I stood firm. Then he said that I'm ableist for leaving him because of his autism. After that didn't work either, he admitted that he just got too comfortable with me doing everything around the house and that he was willing to go to therapy with me. I told him that my decision is made. I have accepted the job offer and I will contact a divorce lawyer next week. I also told him that while I still won't have people over out of respect for him, he'll have to start doing his own chores. Just a side note to everyone who assumed that he financed me. Uni is free here. And you get paid to do your PhD. I teach classes and do fieldwork. Anyway, that's all I think. I'm excited about the future and I'm looking forward to being able to have friends over again. And that's it. OP's going through with a divorce, she told her husband and stood firm. After a couple of attempts to get her to change her mind, he admitted that he was at fault and that was that. And on that note, we're gonna move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit ProRevenge and it's by user A Quiet Borderline. What happens when engineering students are asked to truck-proof a mailbox? Yes, I know there are a lot of mailbox stories on here, but I just learned this from my dad involving my Uncle Dale, family friend who passed away a few months ago, and figured you guys would get a kick out of it. Years ago, back when Uncle Dale and Dad were university students, their engineering professor came to their class with a problem that needed solving. His mailbox was getting broken by someone driving by every night. He and his wife had put up something like 4 or 5 mailboxes, and all 4 or 5 times, the mailbox had been knocked over by someone driving a red truck. This professor offered extra credit to any group of students who could come up with a truck-proof mailbox that not only fit with city regulations, but within a budget of $20, which back then was a good-sized chunk of change. Well, if anyone here knows anything about engineers, as Dad puts it, they love solving problems, and if it's engineering students, they'll make it an experience to remember. Dad and Uncle Dale got together and got to work. They found a steel bar that fit within mailbox regulations. Posts have to be a specific height, width, and depth, and filled the inside with a mixture of concrete and steel rebars. Once the concrete had cured, they welded 8 rebars to the sides of the bar, bent them in half, and stuck it inside a bucket. To add extra weight, they filled the bucket with the heaviest rocks they could find. As a finishing touch, they painted it brown and black to look like wood, and put the ugliest mailbox we could find on sale on top, welding it down for good measure. They brought this monstrosity into class, more dragged it because it was so heavy, and told the professor to bury the bucket where the mailbox stood. Since they were the first to turn in their project, the professor agreed to give it a try. That night, the professor and his wife were awoken by a metallic bang, followed by a lot of cursing. They went outside and wouldn't you know it, there was that red truck speeding away, the mailbox still standing. At the base was a broken wooden baseball bat. 2 days later, the professor gets a bill in the mail for a hospital visit. Turns out, when the passenger hit the mailbox, he did some serious damage to his arm and shoulders. They were planning on suing the professor, but the professor hired a lawyer who basically told the plaintiffs, "You're just going to admit that you were vandalizing the mailbox multiple times?" That shut them up. To the best of my dad's knowledge, the mailbox is still standing. The other students who still brought in mailboxes had their gifted to different professors throughout the town and are also still standing. Wow, OP, thank you for sharing. That's a great story. I thought it was hilarious that this guy actually passed the medical bill to the owner of the mailbox he was trying to vandalize, and then actually thought about suing. What an idiot! Now, I think the video time will allow me to include one more story for today, so let's move on to one more post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user Luther Williams. Bank wants to play stupid games? Then let's play stupid games. Smiley face. So, I live in South Korea, but I work for a US company in South Korea. And because I work for an American company, I'm one of the few employees of my company that is American in South Korea. My company doesn't issue me this letter that basically says I'm employed in South Korea. So, this means I have restrictions on my Korean bank account. I can only withdraw 250,000 won, about $216 a day, from an ATM. And if I go in person to a teller, I can only withdraw 1 million won, about $870 a day. This doesn't normally present a problem for me. I also can't have a debit or credit card. I get a bank book, which is kinda like an electronic checkbook that's a physical thing you carry. FYI, I use my American bank for most of my day-to-day spending. But it did once. I signed a lease for a new apartment and the deposit was 10 million won, about $8,700. Yes, this is normal for Korea. So I transferred the money from my American bank to my Korean bank, and I went to the bank in person to transfer the money to my landlord. I get there and the teller tells me I can only transfer 1 million per day. My first idea was to ask my landlord if she'd be cool with me transferring her 1 million won a day for 10 days. She doesn't like that idea. So I'm sitting there arguing and the bank manager comes out. He's a nice enough man and speaks good English. Basically, he says that because of the type of my account, there is no way I can transfer more than 1 million a day. So I need this money and I'm thinking, and the light bulb goes off in my head. I say, if I close my account, do I get my money? Then the manager says, yes, we would give you the cash. And I continue, and if I close my account, can I open a new one? To which he replies, of course. So then I ask, is there a waiting period after closing my account to open a new one? And tells me no. So I go, fantastic, please close my account. And he finishes with, sure, I will need your bank book and we will destroy it. So I hand them my bank book and they destroy it and sign some papers to close the account. The bank manager closes the account and gives me all the money in the account in an envelope. Then he asks, anything else I can help you with today? I smile, pull out my passport and say, yes, I'd like to open a new account. The bank manager looks at me and it dawns on him what I just did. He laughs, shakes his head and goes, sure, not a problem. So I opened a new account, deposited 10,000 won and left with my deposit in my pocket. Well, OP, that is definitely malicious compliance. You did everything the bank requested you to do and you got your money. I only have one question. If you were able to deposit the money from your American bank to your South Korean bank, why couldn't you do a direct deposit from your American bank to your landlord's bank? Now, I did look in the comment section to see if anybody asked this question and it wasn't there. So maybe OP did the transfer before he knew about these limitations. It doesn't really matter at this point. He solved this problem within the rules, malicious compliance applied. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I certainly did reading them to you. So if you did, then go ahead and give the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and become a member of our Discord community that just keeps growing, and it is fantastic. And like I said in the beginning of the video, all of the relevant links are in the video description below, so be sure to check them out. And finally, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys enjoy this content, so thank you once again. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.